If you are a professional footballer and you've ever or you have a meniscus tear, this video is for you. So big bombshell here, surgery does not fix meniscus tears. Yes, that's right. And let me explain why. On top of that, the meniscus tears can heal without surgery. You ready? Let's get started. The meniscus is a key shock absorber in your knee. Two crescent-shaped pieces of cartilage that protect your knee every time you twist, turn, or sprint. It sits inside your knee joint between the femur, the thigh bone, and the tibia, the shin bone. Meniscus tears in footballers usually happen due to twisting motions under load, especially when the foot is planted and the body changes direction suddenly. These actions create rotational forces that compress and shear the meniscus between the femur and the tibia. They can often happen in conjunction with an ACL rupture and then discovered via MRI or during the surgery itself. Now, of course, mainstream doctors will simply blame wear and tear as the reason for your meniscus tear, and that now is simply your turn to have surgery, as if it's normal for every footballer at a certain point to have this injury. The reality is that it's not true at all. Injuries are not bad luck, and I'm going to explain exactly why that these tears occur. Now, of course, first, please let me explain the two different kinds of meniscus surgeries. There are normally two different operations that will be offered to footballers. The first one is the trim, where the surgeon will offer to trim or sometimes fully remove the meniscus so that you no longer feel the pain of the tear. This operation usually has a shorter recovery time and is easier for the surgeon to perform, but you are permanently losing tissue and nothing new is going in to replace it. The other kind of operation is the repair. This is where the surgeon will use staples or sutures to piece together the torn area of the meniscus, and this operation has a longer recovery time. It's a bit more difficult for the surgeon to perform, but it does attempt to save all of your tissue. Now, that first option really just covers up the issue because now you've lost your pain signal to tell you something is wrong in the knee. You'll go back to playing and keep playing until the pain comes back, until the doctor will tell you it's time for, you guessed it, a surgery, a second and a third and a fourth, and so on and so forth. Now, the repair usually fails after 2 or so years, but that of course depends on multiple factors, especially your biomechanics that led to the tear in the first place. So now to the good stuff. Neither of these surgeries actually fix your meniscus, and you don't need them at all to fix your knee either. Why? Because the meniscus isn't the problem. There are hundreds of thousands of people across the world that have a meniscus tear on an MRI but have no pain. And even more so, there are those with no tear on an MRI but have pain in the meniscus. So what exactly is going on here? There's a system of the body called fascia. It wraps around all muscles, bones, nerves, tendons, ligaments, and organs like a spongy spiderweb. The meniscus, which is cartilage, falls into this category of connective tissue. Now, there are multiple layers of fascia that glide and slide on top of each other in accordance with muscular contraction and relaxation. Through injury, stress, and sedentary living, something called myofascial adhesions are created, which are basically bumps or knots along those layers of fascia, creating problems when the fascia tries to glide. Then the downstream effects of that process happening is when muscles above or below the knee are asked to contract and relax over and over again, but the fascia isn't working right. It can pull and shear away at the cartilage in the knee that is connected to the hamstring or TFL, for example. And if you multiply that situation out over many months of football, well, that's how you eventually get yourself a tear in the meniscus. So now my question to you is, will either of these surgeries fix the biomechanical dysfunction that got you there? No, of course not. And even if you do get the surgery to momentarily fix the pain, will the biomechanical dysfunction just magically go away? No. And this is a perfect example of why Ansu Fati's body fell apart and he was never able to return to the performance that he had before all the injuries, because they never fixed the dysfunction inside his body that caused the meniscus pain. The meniscus tear is just a symptom of a systemic issue. And now I'm going to go right into exactly how Ansu Fati and yourself should exactly be fixing the dysfunction that leads to meniscus tears. Now, before I get into that exactly, I want to explain the mechanism of what's really going on here. The idea that the meniscus can't heal without surgery is the big explanation to why you got to have surgery to fix your meniscus, because they tell you that there's not enough blood supply. That's the big reason or a scapegoat to why you have to get the surgery. But of course, surgeons will tell you that because that's the only way they make money is by you paying for a surgery. So I want to explain that it's a myth that the meniscus or the cartilage in the area, both the cartilage and the meniscal tissue do get ample supply of nutrients to heal. But of course, please hear me out on this one. Of course, it's not a normal blood supply. Why is that? It's because the meniscus is two pieces of cartilage sandwiched in between the femur and the tibia as a shock absorber. It would be impossible to have normal blood supply because the circulation would be cut off by the pressure of the bones above and below. So having normal blood supply in the meniscus would go against the purpose of the meniscus as a shock absorber in between the thigh bone and your shin bone. So it makes no sense that they're telling you that you have to have surgery because there's no blood supply. Well, of course, there's no blood supply. It's just misleading marketing to make you think that your only option is to get surgery for the meniscus. But now let's go further. The outer portions of the meniscus do actually have their own blood vessels, which exist all the way down to the root attachments, which means the meniscus isn't entirely avascular. But there's something also even more important that surgeons won't tell you. There's something called synovial fluid, which acts as a lubricant inside your joints. And a major component of synovial fluid is something called hyaluronic acid, which improves the viscosity and cushioning inside the knee, which reduces friction on the meniscus and helps the cartilage regenerate via the piezoelectric effect. And if you've been following along my work in the past, you would know that the right form of myofascial activation will actually stimulate the production of more hyaluronic acid. So yes, you can actually do the right training to stimulate the healing and regeneration of the cartilage in between the femur and the... And so what does that all mean? Is that you can actually stimulate the healing of your meniscus with the right kind of training. Again, no doctor, surgeon, or physio will tell you this because it goes against the whole model of them making money. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, alignment. I just mentioned that the tears in the meniscus usually involve a twisting motion under load. Now, the knee is supposed to be able to handle some rotation because it's not simply a hinge joint. But if the femur and tibia are misaligned, then there's going to be some uncomfortable shearing on the meniscus over time, which eventually leads to a tear. On top of that, the misalignment could also be compressing that meniscus, decreasing even more how much lubrication and microcirculation it's getting, making the meniscus weak, brittle, and vulnerable to a tear. So that's, again, is one more reason why surgery will not fix your meniscus, because it doesn't fix the alignment, it doesn't fix the production of synovial fluid, and it doesn't fix biomechanics. Those three very important pieces. So even if you get surgery, you'll still have these issues to fix, or else you'll have more issues down the line, or usually in the short term. So let me just explain a very simple three-step outline of how I healed my meniscus and how other footballers have used my experience to help heal their meniscus. So again, this is not the medical advice. It's just what worked for me and some other people. Every human being has a different athletic background, so you would need personalized help to get ample results to make you happy and get back on the pitch to dominate. So the first stage is decompression. So basically what we want to do is help give the meniscus some room to breathe and get the femur and the tibia just a little bit away and decompress the knee. So why would your knee get compressed in the first place? It can often be because you're in a chair all day, so your hamstring tighten up, that can pull on tissue and it can press on the cartilage. other things like modern sneakers that atrophy the bottom of your foot, which has the plantar fascia, very important for force absorption, can lead to dysfunction there. That leads to changes in bone position above the ankle and the foot, so the shin, and that can obviously affect how much compression is on that cartilage in the meniscus. So there's many reasons why there could be too much compression on the meniscus. The reality though is that you have compression, so it's really important the first stage to work on decompression. So I'll put a video right here. The first exercise is called knee distraction. You'll put about a 20-pound ankle weight on both ankles, and you'll just swing your legs like this for 20 minutes. It's a very simple exercise, simple, and most people might think it's not really effective, but it's actually doing a lot. It's helping your knee just engorge with fresh blood supply, but also lubricate the joint. And then right here, the next one, Seiza and child rockers. So we're gonna get the knee all the way into full flexion under some body weight, and just stay there for a few minutes. Work your way up to 5 minutes just in Seiza, and then as that gets easier, start to build in child rockers, going back and forth with the internal rotation of the femur as you come up, and as you go back, get that external rotation of the femur, trying to unwind some of the rotation, some misalignment, and the compression in that knee. And then the last one for the first stage is called plyo ball knee suction. So you get a plyo ball. If you don't have that, maybe try a barbell, a wooden stick, or even like a tennis ball. Put it behind your knee, and again get in the full flexion, either in frog position or in Seiza, and work on just actively suctioning the ball or the bar into your knee, enlarging and bringing oxygen, bringing blood flow into the knee. The main thing here, guys, is just to build some conscious awareness of the tissue above and below your knee. So putting the ball there is going to temper that tissue and force it to wake up a little bit, and again will help decompress. So that's the first stage, decompression. Very simple stuff, but very little gear needed, but very effective. Stage 2 is alignment. So the main thing here is you have your shin and your thigh. If there's any kind of misalignment there, and there's too much rotation from either above or below, you can imagine how over many miles of running, many matches, training, landing, that will shear on the cartilage in between those two bones, and again cause a tear, or even just micro tears. So what we want to do is we're going to work on releasing myofascial adhesions in the upper leg to hopefully realign that femur with the tibia. And I'll put the video here again of the activation that we'll do right after the myofascial release. Then from there, we'll take it into a laying squat hold where we work on aligning the whole lower body. Very simple exercise, but also very effective. And then from here, we'll take all that into the spiral step down. This one is much harder than it looks because most guys do it wrong. They just stand there and just go down, 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 but they totally lose hip control. They have no control of their hip. So they just sag out to the side and they overwork their adductor, their quad, and they get no glute activation because their hip capsule is so, let's say, inactive that they aren't even aware of it. So work on the spiral step down, work on maintaining that hip position as you go down and don't lose it. So that's alignment. Basically, we're looking to get the femur and the tibia aligned so the knee isn't stuck in the middle with this awkward twisting all the time. Now, throughout the course of your life and playing football, you will have rotation, obviously. Your body does spiral when you run optimally, but it's not supposed to be there at its default state. There's supposed to be some symmetry, even though our bodies are naturally asymmetric because we have different organs in our torso, but it doesn't mean that our lower body, our shins, our knees, our thighs are also supposed to be, let's say, lopsided or not aligned. Then once we've decompressed and we've aligned, we'll take it into dynamic loading to spark some healing in that tissue. The first one here is we'll put some banded fascia work. So this one specifically, we'll do a straight and lateral hip hike with the band to work on connecting the feet to the hips in a in a fairly challenging position and maintaining that strong hip position without the knee falling into valgus, and of course not the other way either. And then from there we'll take it into a more dynamic spiral step up. Again, that one is great. Very important to articulate what you're doing with the hips. It's not a mindless exercise where you're just stepping onto a box. It's very important to articulate both of those hip positions, as I do in this video. Then from there, the final one, we'll take it into frog hops, full flexion in the knee, slapping the ground, lots of force going into that cartilage with full flexion. Very good to begin the healing process and to regenerate the cartilage in there. But important, don't do this until you're ready, because we've built up to that point so that the cartilage can handle the tissue and have the proper response as opposed to breaking down further. Bottom line, guys, you can heal a meniscus tear because the meniscus isn't the problem. You're the problem. It's a systemic issue. The meniscus is only the symptom. Please do not fall into the fear-mongering of surgeons and doctors telling you it's the only way to do surgery. I had a doctor telling me the only way to fix my knee was to do surgery. And literally he was saying, oh, we're going to like remove half your meniscus. And then I asked him, so what's going in there? He's like, oh, nothing. And then his rationale was that, oh, because he himself had already fully removed his meniscus and he runs marathons on a treadmill, that was good enough for me. And I was like, well, I play pro football. I probably should not do that or like use you as an example because you're not very athletic and you're rationalizing all this nonsense because it's a financial incentive for you and your industry. All right, guys, hope that helped. Have any questions, please drop it down below. If you're a pro footballer that wants to fix your knee and make sure that this does not cause more issues in your career like Ansu Fati, his career is basically over now. Of course, right now, hopefully his revival at Monaco. Let's hope for him in that. But you get my point. If you don't fix the first injury right, you'll create this cycle where you're chasing rabbits, looking for the symptoms, but you don't understand. You got to find the root cause if you want to actually get out of that loop. If you're a non-pro player, you can join Total Footballer at the link down below if you want to get help to fix your meniscus. Guys, it's great to follow this stuff. It will help. But if you are serious about football and you want to like get results and not waste your time and your energy, then you probably should sign up for coaching with me and my team. This is what we do for a living. We help guys day in, day out to transform their bodies and become elite footballers. Whether that's non-pro or pro, we've helped guys from Arsenal and AC Milan all the way down to grassroots. So we're here as the world's only talent development system for footballers. I'm Taylor, guys. Enjoy. I'll see you soon.